Kikuru, a young hunter, is in the guild talking to the guild officer about quitting his job. Why? Well, his friends are getting married, and he hasn't even been on a date. You see, ever since he was a kid, Kikuru trained nonstop to become the best hunter and take down monsters. By the time he turned 18, he was a top-notch hunter. But all that training left him no time for romance. He heard a rumor that the guys in his university's hunter club were hunting for girlfriends instead of monsters. So now, Kikuru is thinking about quitting his job, taking all the money he's earned, and finally enjoying life. But just as he's about to hand in his resignation, the guild officer tells him about a cute new recruit who's just joined. Maybe, just maybe, this could change his mind. Then, a young martial artist named Hitomu, who happens to be part human, part cat, walks in. The guild officer introduces her to Kikuru, and Kikuru is surprised to see a real-life human-cat mix. The officer suggests they team up for a quest, and Kikuru reluctantly agrees. Hitomu is thrilled and promises to do her best. The officer is secretly relieved because she knows Kikuru might stay in the guild if this partnership works out. Kikuru, on the other hand, is eyeing Hitomu, thinking she might just be the one to take over his job so he can finally quit. Off they go into the forest to complete the quest. As they walk, they chat and start to get friendly. Kikuru hints that he might let Hitomu take over his role, and she's over the moon, feeling proud and excited. Suddenly, Hitomu catches a whiff of monsters nearby. They find a group of slimes, and Kikuru gets ready for action. But before he can give the signal, Hitomu steps forward and introduces herself to the slimes, announcing that she's going to fight them. Before she can finish her introduction, the slimes attack her. Poor Hitomu is caught off guard, and before she knows it, she's lying on the ground, defeated by the gooey slimes. Kikuru watches in disbelief, realizing that maybe training this newbie won't be as easy as he thought. Kikuru couldn't believe it. Hitomu, defeated by slimes, the easiest monsters to kill. He couldn't help but be surprised by how weak she was. As he stood there, he asked her, "If I help you, are you going to sue me for touching you?" Hitomu, desperate and embarrassed, begged him to help, assuring him that no one would take her seriously anyway because she's so weak. Kikuru, feeling a bit awkward, told her that he actually believed in her potential, even if she didn't. Gathering his courage, he reached inside her shirt to grab the slime. Blushing all the while, he managed to free her from the slimy mess and then swiftly defeated all the slimes, rescuing Hitomu completely. Hitomu thanked Kikuru and promised to try her best next time. She then caught the scent of more monsters, impressing Kikuru with her keen sense. As they moved forward, Hitomu cheered for Kikuru, amazed at how easily he defeated monsters. Kikuru explained that it's all about being careful and strategic. He suggested she should lure monsters into traps or attack them from behind, but Hitomu, with a look of determination, said she couldn't fight in such an unfair way. Just then, a massive bear-lion monster appeared. Hitomu charged in with her beast karate but was quickly caught by the fierce creature. She cried out for help, and Kikuru, always ready, shot an arrow straight into the bear-lion's head, taking it down. He reassured Hitomu that she did a good job, even if things didn't go as planned. Later that evening, they returned to the guild, where the officer congratulated them for defeating 2 slimes and a bear-lion. Kikuru encouraged Hitomu to be proud of her first quest. He then told the officer that although he initially wanted to quit, he would stay until he found someone to take over his role. Otherwise, the city might be in trouble. Curious, Kikuru asked Hitomu if all martial artists like her had no real experience fighting monsters. She explained that her teacher always said she was pure, for better or worse. The guild officer then asked Kikuru to be patient with Hitomu and to consider her potential. She also mentioned that another cute girl was joining his party, to which Kikuru responded, "Stop treating me like a pervert." The new member, a white sorceress named Maidina, arrived and greeted Kikuru. He noticed that she was even smaller than Hitomu and wondered if she could really fight. Hitomu introduced herself to Maidina, and the officer asked Kikuru to take care of the new recruit, who was also a newbie. Kikuru, thinking about retirement, figured that training these new members would be the fastest way to his goal. But Maidina, already skeptical, told Kikuru she couldn't work with a pervert like him. Kikuru, unbothered, replied that he had no feelings for her since she looked like a kid, which hurt Madina's pride. Furious, she smacked Kikuru on the head. At a festival, Kikuru managed to catch a thief and handed him over to the officer. Back at the guild, he grumbled about wasting his youth helping others, but comforted himself with the thought that once he trained his successors, he could finally retire. Then, he could focus on preparing for the next year's college entrance exam. As they prepared for the next quest, Madina was still mad at Kikuru, calling him a pervert whenever she got the chance. But Kikuru, determined to retire soon, just sighed and kept moving forward. Kikuru, Hitomu, and Madina ventured into the forest, ready to take on more monsters. As they walked, Kikuru reminded them that their job as a hunter, martial artist, and sorcerer was to protect the city and its people from monsters. Madina chimed in, adding that they also had to transport and escort VIPs. Hitomu was impressed and complimented Madina, who proudly mentioned she learned it all in school. Kikuru then asked Hitomu to find some slimes. Hitomu, still haunted by her last encounter with the slimes, hesitated, while Madina nervously wondered if the monsters might touch her too. When they finally found some slimes, Kikuru told Hitomu to take them down on her own, saying they were too weak to be a real threat. Madina thought Kikuru was being overly cautious, but Kikuru insisted that even the smallest monsters could be dangerous. Hitomu approached the slimes, but things quickly went south. A slime trapped her hand, and she couldn't move. Madina urged Kikuru to help, but he calmly explained that the backline members couldn't expose themselves too early. Plus, today's mission was also a training exercise, so they just watched and waited. Kikuru sighed, telling Madina that Hitomu missed her chance by going head-to-head with the slime instead of taking the initiative. Hitomu managed to throw the slime off and dodged its attack, but then another slime appeared and trapped her hand again. Madina pleaded with Kikuru to step in, but he was too depressed, thinking about how weak his party members were. If he couldn't level them up, his dream of retirement seemed distant. Things got worse for Hitomu when one slime trapped her hand while another slipped into her pants, weakening her further. Finally, Kikuru decided enough was enough and quickly killed all the slimes. Madina was both embarrassed and shy as she watched the slime's awkward invasion of Hitomu's body. After the battle, she healed Hitomu's broken finger, impressing Kikuru with her skill. Madina confidently declared herself the greatest genius of all time. Hitomu hugged Madina, thanking her for the healing, but was surprised when Madina asked for payment. Confused, Hitomu wondered if Madina was charging a fee for healing. Madina explained that if she healed for free, hospitals and drug companies would go out of business. Hitomu, now worried, vowed to be more careful with her fingers. Suddenly, a huge slime appeared. Hitomu was determined to take it down, gathering her martial arts power. But before she could strike, the slime attacked Madina, throwing her to the ground. Embarrassed, Madina quickly covered herself with her hands. Kikuru rushed in, catching her just in time and saving her from further harm. Hitomu ran over, apologizing for being too slow to attack the slime. Kikuru decided it was best to head back to the guild. When they returned, the guild officer asked about the day's quest. Hitomu apologized for only defeating 2 slimes and missing the big one. Madina thanked Kikuru for saving her during the mission. The officer was happy to see Kikuru and Madina getting along, but Madina was still angry at Hitomu for putting her in danger with the huge slime. Hitomu felt terrible, thinking it was all her fault, but the officer encouraged her to become stronger. The officer then asked Madina about her experience on the mission. Madina confidently explained that she now understood the importance of a healer and reminded everyone that she was a genius, even though she was only 15 years old. Kikuru was shocked by her age and immediately told the officer that from now on, only those 18 years or older should join his party. After all, monsters could easily slip inside their clothes, just like what happened with Hitomu.